Titans just wrapped up a joint practice in Tampa Bay with the Buccaneers, and by all accounts, it was a very competitive, back and forth, pretty even matchup between the two teams, which is a great sign for the Titans, a 3-14 team last year against a division winner playoff team, and they held their own. We're going to talk about everything that happened at practice today and a little preview of Saturday's preseason action. This is the Music City Audible. Let's get to it. Oh, welcome everyone to another episode of the Music City Audible podcast presented by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville in partnership with 440 Sports. I'm Justin Graver. With me, as always, Justin Melo. Justin, Titans-Buccaneers joint practice. It's great to see football competition between two teams that aren't, the same team. How's it going?
Yeah, I'm doing well. That was a lot of fun. It was live. It was spirited. It was, very competitive. I thought that was a terrific session. Got me more excited than I thought it was going to, in all honesty. There is just something a little different about practicing against a team that's not your own. And I thought you saw that from both sides. There was a lot of feistiness from the Titans, some feistiness from the Buccaneers as well. Just a fun, productive session at the end of the day.
Yeah, seems like both teams really brought the juice to this practice. Jarvis Brownlee Jr., Jeffrey Simmons, Cody Barton. We'll get into all of it, including the, skirmish. I'm not going to go as far as to call it a fight, but the skirmish that broke out. We had one-on-ones between the offensive line and the defensive line, between the cornerbacks and the receivers. We had team periods, red zone periods, 2-minute drive. This practice had it all. I feel like Bill Hader on Saturday Night Live. This practice had it all. So we're going to go through everything. And let's start, with the one-on-ones, because that's how the practice began, especially the O-line, D-line one-on-ones. These were the first reports and clips to hit the Twitter timeline. And the big notable rep that everybody's talking about is Cody Mauch versus Jeffrey Simmons. And Cody Mauch held his own. Jeffrey Simmons, it was a back and forth little one-on-one rep there where Simmons makes a great first move and starts driving Mauch backwards, but Mauch re-anchors and is able to reset his feet. And, it's a 4-second push back from, for Simmons to get Mauch into the backfield there. So in a real setting, the pass is likely out. If the coverage is really good, the quarterback likely has to change his spot. So who won that rep, I think, would have depended on how the coverage played out in the back end. But I think most people would agree that Simmons ended up on the ground, so he lost the rep. Is that how you read that one?
Yeah, it was initially kind of mislabeled by a Bucs beat reporter as Simmons being mishandled by Mauch. Manhandled by Mauch, excuse me. Stoney Keeley, if you could find it, had a great breakdown, if you go to his Twitter replies, on sort of what happened in that rep. I tend to agree that Cody Mauch won it. It feels like the initial move from Simmons doesn't create as much as he'd like right off the snap. I think he's eventually able to get into that ball, push him back. But if that ball, like you said, live setting, comes out in even, 2.6 seconds, I think you chalk that up as a win for Cody Mauch. Yes, he ends up throwing Simmons to the ground at the end of the rep. Almost felt a little unnecessary, extracurricular, if you will. But I wouldn't say Simmons got manhandled on it, but I would say that the victory probably goes to Cody Mauch, because in a live game, that ball comes out.
Yeah, I agree with you there, but it was nice to see Simmons jump up, and there was some fire right off the bat there. We're early in practice, early in the one-on-ones, and a fight almost breaks out right then and there, but we'll come back to that because a fight did eventually break out. The receiver
you weren't going to
DB,
call it a fight. You just went back on your own.
You're right, skirmish. I'll try to do better, but if I do say fight, just know I mean skirmish, but I want it to sound
Sing yourself
cooler.
Next time you say fight. You got that's okay. A Graverism.
You got it.
I know
all right,
what we have in this room.
Moving on to wide receiver DB one-on-ones. We're going to focus more on the Titans offense. It seemed like more beat writers were watching the Titans receivers more so than the DBs. But quickly on the Titans defense, Emeka Egbuka burned everybody he faced. And he's a legit, dude. I think there were a lot of Titans fans who were hoping that there was a way he might fall to the top of the second round and the Titans could pair him with Cam Ward. That would have been a dream scenario because he seems like the real deal. He was going up against, I think the clip that was tweeted that went around was against Clarence Lewis, the undrafted free agent rookie cornerback. So it's like, what do you really expect? I mean, Emeka Egbuka is a rookie also, but he's a first-round pick. There's a reason why he was. So did you see anything else on the defensive side for the Titans in those one-on-ones?
Wasn't a whole lot. I thought, Egbuka, yes, Clarence Lewis, but Egbuka looks so good. He looks so explosive and sudden in those clips. He's going to be a dude, and if he was there at 35, curious if the Titans would have traded out or if they just would have taken him. But no, not a whole lot. There were some good reps for the Titans DBs, but not so much in the one-on-ones. I thought the Bucs probably had the advantage in those, but the DBs did recover and they made some plays later on during team drills.
Right, and then with the Titans receivers, it did seem like the Bucs won the period in a period that is set up for the offense to win. I mean, you have the whole field to cover one-on-one, no help coverage, nowhere for the quarterback to, there's no deceit involved in the play. It's just mano-a-mano, so much space to cover. The receivers should win that more often than not. However, it felt like the Titans receivers were losing those reps more often than not, which is not a great sign, but it was early in the practice. And I think the Titans started this practice fairly sloppy just in general, like some of the clips that were tweeted out in the warm-up periods before the teams came together. Cam Ward trying to do a handoff drill to Tony Pollard, and Pollard runs the wrong way. Ward throws a pass outside to Bryce Oliver, just like an easy pitch and catch warm-up, and it just bounces off of Oliver's hands. It's like there was a little bit of sloppiness there, and I think they may have started the one-on-one quarterback wide receiver reps that way as well, because Cam Ward was throwing a bit long for some deep routes, a little off target, wide receivers, some of them not creating a ton of separation. But there were a handful of, I think, standout highlight reps by the Titans in this period, including 2 incredible routes by Alec Iamaner, where he created yards of separation with a quick, fake one way, burst the other way, and just the DB had no chance. So really, really encouraged by what Alec Iamaner was able to do in these one-on-ones.
Yeah, I'll say this. Paul Kuharsky had tweeted out that it was not a good period for the Titans receivers, and I don't want to give you the biased look at it, but the more you dig into it, I mean, I retweeted, he had like a 3-minute video compilation of a lot of the one-on-ones. I retweeted Nick Suss, who had some great footage of the one-on-ones as well. If you comb through a lot of those clips, it seemed to me like the Titans receivers who were actually going to play this year had a lot of good reps. Like those 2 reps by Alec Iamaner were disgusting, like sudden, explosive, the change of direction for a guy at that size, the suddenness for a guy at that size was really impressive. There was a rep by Van Jefferson where he absolutely, I don't know if you saw that one, but he toasted a Bucs DB on that rep. And then you had Calvin Ridley, I think it was Jamel Dean in coverage, one of the starting corners for the Bucs, where he hit him with a nasty sort of stutter step, lulled him to sleep, got behind him, again, creating yards of separation. Would have been an explosive touchdown, it looked like, in a game. Ward hit him right on the money, in stride. So those receivers had some really good reps. I saw, Xavier Restrepo had a good rep. Chimere Dike had a good rep. When I saw the Titans receivers that had bad reps, it was like TJ Sheffield had a really bad rep. I think I saw 2 or 3 bad reps from Mason Kinsey. And I'm like, well, okay, probably not the end of the world. Bryce Oliver recovered. He had that ugly drop. He had a really nice catch on the sideline. Yeah. It was him, right? Where he adjusted his body to the sideline, tight coverage, and he comes down with it near the out-of-bounds marker, but it would have been inbound. So, maybe it was a little more up and down than you'd like it to be because the offense is supposed to have the advantage in these. But when it comes to the Titans starting receivers, I thought they won a lot of them.
Yeah, I will say on Van Jefferson, he did have that one really nasty rep where he sort of was going inside and then he popped back outside and the DB stayed in the middle of the field. But he also had a couple of reps where he got kind of manhandled and couldn't create any separation. So that he was hot and cold. DK was also hot and cold. He did have a really nice rep, but he also had another one where he just didn't get open at all. Bryce Oliver had that incredible catch where he basically mossed the DB on that one, but then he had another one that he dropped where the ball hit him in the hands and he just didn't catch it. So a hot and cold period overall. The Calvin Ridley play was noted as the best rep of the one-on-ones, probably because it went for a long touchdown. But I think I might have been more impressed by the Alec Iamaner ones just because
Me too.
That is such a good sign for this season, especially, Van Jefferson struggling a little bit in these one-on-ones. He did have one nice rep. Alec Iamaner winning these one-on-ones. Like, is that transition going to happen sooner versus later? I think that's an interesting side component. But if Alec Iamaner is going to get playing time at the X position, he's going to have to line up and beat one-on-one man coverage, press coverage with his route running. So that, I think, is why this was so encouraging to me about what he can do this season, is because this is the kind of stuff that directly translates to the field for him. Like, a lot of these guys in the slot or moving around the formation aren't necessarily going to have to go beat sticky one-on-one man coverage, but the X receiver has to do it more often than not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I honestly, that one rep, I agree, it was my favorite in particular. There was two really good ones, but I think we're talking about the same one. The change of direction and the suddenness, like, kind of dropped my jaw a little. I was like, oh, damn, like, that looks like a dude who can play at a high level in this league. So was really encouraged by what Alec Iomanner did on Thursday. And I know we're not looking ahead to Saturday yet, but excited to see him out there as well.
Yeah. All right. Continuing just sort of the chronological way the practice unfolded, I think the next period up was special teams, and the Titans had some different guys cycling through the returner role. But according to Buck Rising, who was out there at practice, basically everyone struggled in the punt return role except for James Prochet. So there wasn't really anything written about how Chimere Dike did, because that's like the other guy who's in major contention to win that job, I think.
What did I say in yesterday's episode?
You said it. If James Prochet makes the roster, he is your punt returner. And the fact that he's the only potentially only good, only reliable punt returner option could mean that he's going to make the team. And he also, we'll get to the team periods later, but he also had a long touchdown catch from Brandon Allen in a team period. So he's making plays. Tajay Spears was out there. Apparently, Paul Kuharsky said 5th in the punt return rotation and muffed his chance. So this is like your veteran guy, and he's the one muffing the kick. Like maybe it's Prochet or nothing here.
Yeah, I would say Spears is probably not even realistically in contention at punt returner. I think it does come down to Prochet versus DK, and I'm sure both of them are going to get opportunities on Saturday and consistently throughout the preseason. And what they do with those opportunities could help ultimately determine that spot. Because again, this competition involves Xavier Restrepo in a roundabout way too, in my opinion. Right? Like if it's Prochet versus Restrepo for the 7th receiver spot. If they feel they've got to keep Prochet to return punts, they're not keeping 8 receivers, so directly impacts Restrepo at wide receiver.
Yeah, exactly. So that'll be an interesting competition to watch. And Brian Callahan said in his press conference that they can't simulate the live punt return reps very well in practice. So how they perform in the actual preseason games is critical. And I think like the only thing that really, really matters in preseason for guys making the roster or not is the special teams periods, because that's like the truest test of how to like simulate a special teams rep, because you're not running full speed. You don't want guys to get hurt. This is a high contact type, high collision type of environment, the special teams stuff. So you don't do that really in practice very much. So that's where I think as we get to, the preseason and stuff, the special teams, how players perform on special teams is the one biggest thing that matters. Obviously, seeing Cam Ward is exciting, but it doesn't matter. He's going against vanilla defenses with no game-planned offense. So that kind of stuff doesn't matter as much as special teams. I think either right after or possibly during that special teams period, the teams were doing 7-on-7. And it's tough for these beat writers out there, Justin, because on one field, you have Titans offense versus Bucs defense 7-on-7. On another field, you have Titans defense versus Bucs offense. So it's like you can't watch both at the same time. So we have sort of like scattered and random reports of what's happening during both of these periods. But Pewter Report, Scott Reynolds runs Pewter Report. I think, have we had him on this show before?
We did. We have had Scott on the show.
So Scott Reynolds did a great work out there tweeting Pewter Report on Twitter, just like almost every single play that happened. It felt like we got most of the information on this for this podcast from his tweets. And Buck Rising was out there, Paul Kuharsky was out there, a few other guys were out there for the Titans, Nick Suss. But it did seem like the majority of the reports coming in were from Pewter Report, and he tweeted that the Bucs defense was nowhere near the football in 7-on-7s, Titans quarterbacks, plural, making the right reads, and there have been a lot of easy ones. So it sounds like Cam Ward had a good 7-on-7 period, and really all the Titans quarterbacks having good 7-on-7 periods. Yeah,
shout out to Terry McCormick, who had the tweet of the day. I think it was in this period where he said, "Let Tim boil." And it took me a second, but I'm like, oh, wait, let Ran Carthon cook and all that. Let Tim boil. I thought that was an outstanding tweet. Good to see, again, 7-on-7. We kind of talked about it yesterday. Cam Ward says it's not real football. Another kind of drill, team versus team drill, but one that's slanted towards the offense. But, nonetheless, good to see that the Titans quarterbacks were, successful in this period.
Right. Not real football, but good to note anyway. You still would rather see success than failure. And Xavier Woods had an interception in what I'm assuming to be 7-on-7 based on the timing of when this tweet happened. So Xavier Woods out there making plays as well. It was unclear who the quarterback was, but I sort of have to assume if Xavier Woods is on the field, it's the first team versus the first team, right?
And the Bucs had their best tight end out there on that play. I know best healthy tight end on that play. Right. I noted that as well. So pretty good indication that that's first team versus first team. Good play for Xavier Woods. We had an article on Titan Size this morning talking about how, Quandre Diggs signing, I know he's coming in as a vet, but it puts him on notice a little bit. Like, I refuse to believe it doesn't. Quandre Diggs is a 3-time Pro Bowler who told reporters he's not here to just, play in the background. Like, he wants to play. So Xavier Woods put on notice, shows up. I don't think it's coincidence. That tends to motivate guys, light a fire under them. We just talked about 7-on-7 being slanted towards the offense. Even more notable when a guy like Xavier Woods comes up with an interception in a period like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we move to 11-on-11, where Cam Ward opened with a couple of really strong plays, really nice throws, hitting Gunnar Helm down the seam, and then following that up with a quick strike to Calvin Ridley on the next play. Buck Rising noted that there was solid protection from the offensive line on both plays, so that's good. And Pewter Report also noted that the Titans offense was having success running the ball against the Bucs defense. So the start of 11-on-11 period, which I think Brian Callahan said was going to be a sort of a call-it period, meaning that there's not necessarily a script. It's like line up the ball, the officials are there spotting it, and then you go from there, and it's like, almost like a scrimmage, closest thing they'll get to real football action in a practice setting. So nice to see some success there from Cam Ward in those early 11-on-11s, although we'll get to it in a minute. When they got to the 2-minute drill, some struggles appeared.
Well, this was a back and forth practice, as we said, and I feel very comfortable calling this a back and forth practice. Baker Mayfield cut it that way after. Cam Ward, if you watched him speak at the podium, which I did, he was pleased with this practice. Right, so it was a good day for the offense. I say all that to prefix. I would say that this start of this 11-on-11 might have been the best thing the Titans did the entire day, because again, it's the closest they're going to get to real football. We just talked a gang of shit about 7-on-7. We know 1-on-1s, how they're slanted. 11-on-11, pretty damn good. So to start that with 2 big completions, one to your rookie tight end, then another, Calvin really made a diving catch on that one, the second play of that scrimmage. That's really positive. And then the fact that they're doing good things in the run game as well, that's a tough Tampa Bay defensive line, tough, head coach Todd Bowles, great defensive system. And we've heard rumors at practice, right? We've heard whispers at Titans training camp practices that the run game has looked better, right? Their local beat reporters have consistently said that. So for them to get to this joint practice with the Bucs and have some early rundown success on 11-on-11, I think it was a great start for them. Probably the best thing that they did to simulate a real game the entire practice.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And then on the defensive side, the Titans defense forces a fumble in this same sort of setting with Darrell Baker Jr. recovering it. And then when the twos went out there, Brandon Allen, this is where the deep pass to wide receiver James Prochet, the deep touchdown happened. So a lot of success there for the defense and the offense in this big 11-on-11 period. After that, and also, Darrell Baker Jr. making plays again, was in position to, apparently, this is from, again, Pewter Report, to lay out Bucs tight end Devin Culp, but he didn't catch the ball, so Baker pulled up. But apparently he was in good position there. Mayfield made the throw, and Darrell Baker was there to either break it up or hit the receiver who just didn't make the catch. So lots of good plays.
I know a Titans defender would have hit him anyway, regardless of him making the catch or not. That would have lit him up.
We will get there because the next period was the 2-minute drill, and then there was red zone after this. So we have, still a decent amount of practice to go here. But as we get into the 2-minute drill, should we remind everyone real quick about Titans of the South, Justin? This book over here, over my left shoulder, Titans of the South, written by our very own Justin Melo. You're holding up your copy there. It's a history, a full and complete history of the Tennessee Titans and Houston Oilers, dating back to when the Houston Oilers were first founded. It's illustrated. It's got a chapter on every season in team history. And coming in a couple of weeks, Justin, the new version, the re-released 2025 edition, will be shipped out. You can still pre-order it today, titansofthesouth.com. It's only $25, which includes free shipping and comes with a free gift, an illustrated player trading card of the Titans' new rookie quarterback. So really fantastic object here if you're a Titans fan and you don't have this book yet. I know a ton of our listeners, Justin, already have gotten their copy, and some of them are even wondering, where is it? Calm down. It's going to be shipped soon. This was a pre-order. The original, when you ordered it, told you it would be shipped in September. And as I understand it, you guys are actually ahead of schedule.
Yeah, it looks like we're ahead of schedule. We had a comment on YouTube yesterday, someone saying they're concerned. Where's my book? Well, I guess, we got to read, folks. Like when you ordered it, it said it was a pre-order. It said it was going to be shipped first week of September. I heard from the publisher just the other day claiming that it looks like we're ahead of schedule. We're planning to ship in the month of August. If it's not August, it's going to be like September 1st. So we're about 2 to 3 weeks away from shipping the pre-order out. It's done. It's ready to go. It looks stunning. I can't wait for you guys to see the free gift. Graver, you've seen it. You were literally said to me, holy shit, I think was your initial response when you saw the Player Illustrated trading card. You thought it was a real photo, I think, when you first saw it instead of an illustration. So can't wait for you guys to get the gift that comes with it. Free shipping, as I said, we're really close to shipping. TitansOfTheSouth.com. Can't wait for you guys to get your hands on it. Make sure you head out there and order your copy today.
Yes, please do. Titans-of-the-South.com. And also don't forget to check the podcast description for the link to get your tickets to Sinker's 40th birthday jamboree. It's not too late to get a ticket. The event is this Saturday. Live music, tons of free giveaways, only $10 to get in the door, and that comes with 2 free drinks. All proceeds go to benefit the Martha K. O'Brien Center in East Nashville. So check the podcast description for the link to that as well. All right, Justin, let's get into the 2-minute drill, which began with the first play of the 2-minute drill, a Cam Ward interception to Hassan Reddick, jumping the route there, trying to hit Chigakonkwo over the middle of the field. I think Cam Ward talked about this interception after practice in his post-practice podium, saying he just missed him. He tried to lead him and led him too far, and the defender was able to, defensive end, outside linebacker dropping into coverage, Hassan Reddick to grab that interception. Not the way you want to start off the 2-minute drill.
Yeah, I think if I heard him correctly, he said it wasn't inside enough, which makes sense, right? Like when you're trying to hit a slant, you want that ball to be inside, away from the defender. Sounds like he just left it a little too much to the outside, maybe slightly behind Chig if you're, misfired outside, and Hassan Reddick was able to come down with it. So, he'll learn from it. You got to keep repping stuff like that, and you don't want to make those mistakes when the season comes. So it's one of those throws and one of those plays he's going to have to keep repping.
Yeah, and they lined up and just let the Titans offense get another go at it. A mulligan, essentially. That play didn't count. Let's do it again. And Paul Kuharsky said the Titans drove into field goal position with a methodic drive, lots of quick slants and checkdowns. They talked to Tyler Lockett after practice, who mentioned that their mindset today was to just take what the defense gives you, don't force anything. There was a second dropped interception in that mix as well, that if it hadn't been dropped, who knows if they get to that field goal position. But apparently Titans got down to field goal range in their second go with the ones in the 2-minute drill. So you like to see the bounce back, and that's sort of, the story of Cam Ward is he's always bouncing back whenever he's faced with adversity or makes a mistake. So you like to see that. It would have been nice to see them get in the end zone on that kind of drive, but sometimes all you need in the 2-minute drill is a field goal, so that's okay. And also during this period, meanwhile, that's the Titans offense going in the 2-minute drill. On the other side of the field with the defense, this is where some wild stuff started to happen. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. apparently walked over to the little setup where the Bucs fans were watching practice from. They were taunting him and yelling, like in the clip, you can hear them yelling, "Practice squad," which obviously means they have no idea who Jarvis Brownlee Jr. is, because that doesn't even make sense. He's a starting cornerback on this team, and maybe their best cornerback if L'Jarius Sneed's not healthy. Maybe their best quarterback regardless. We'll see, I guess. But just went over to where the Bucs fans were taunting him and started just like yelling into the crowd and like telling them to come out on the field and meet me out here. And like, it was just a wild scene as Jarvis Brownlee Jr. showing that fire that was present throughout this practice.
I'm just going to say this quickly. I interviewed Jarvis Brownlee Jr. During the pre-draft process. You'll remember I was a huge fan of his. I advocated for the Titans to draft him. I reported when they brought him in for a top 30 visit, and I'm pretty sure I predicted somehow, like right before the pick. Do you remember that? I said, maybe this is going to be Jarvis Brownlee Jr. here, which is, I'm going to pat myself on the back, because to be able to do that with a 5th-round pick is almost impossible. I deserve a ding there. I don't care. I'll take it happily, because I called that one out very early on. When I interviewed Jarvis Brownlee Jr. pre-draft process, I've done over 1,000 interviews. Very few of them scare me a little bit, to be honest with you. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. is an intense dude. He's he was great. I had a great time with him, but he's intense. And you feel that, and you see it in the way he plays, right? Like, he's a dog, and he loves physicality, and he's tough, and he's not a guy that I'd want to cross on or off a football field. And I just getting to know him a little bit, I was not surprised at all by what happened at Thursday's practice.
And, the Titans released a mic'd up with Jarvis Brownlee Jr. either yesterday or the other day of him at practice, mic'd up. And you can see this really long clip of him helping Alec Iamaner with like his releases and talking to him about, when you show me your chest like this, I know that means you're about to break. If you keep yourself in this position, like you can sell it better. And I don't know if that helped Alec Iamaner this quickly, but it was almost exactly what Jarvis Brownlee Jr. was showing Iamaner in this mic'd up clip is what Alec Iamaner was doing in the one-on-one reps to win against the Bucs defenders today. So you love to see the leadership and the growth. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. going into his second season has a chance to make a pretty big leap, I think, and hopefully that happens for this Titans defense because they could certainly use somebody being good like that. Another note from that 11-on-11 2-minute drive period, I think it was from the 2-minute drive period based on the timing, was when the twos were on the field, Kyle Trask holds the ball too long, would have been sacked by Titans' new outside linebacker, Jihad Ward. So nice to see Ward, not Cam Ward, Jihad Ward making a play there. New to the team, has to go out and make an impression. So that was good. Let's move on to the red zone drills where Baker Mayfield hit Mike Evans for a touchdown grab over Amani Hooker. Hey, that happens. Mike Evans, I mean, this guy, all he does is score touchdowns, right? He's a huge target, and him and Baker Mayfield have a great connection, especially in the red zone. And then on the very next play, this is how Buck Rising worded this. Jeff Simmons just victimized some poor Bucs running back in a low red zone play after Mike Evans caught a touchdown on the previous play. So obviously Jeffrey Simmons not happy to see his defense give up a touchdown, turns around and takes it out on the running back on the next play.
Well, good on good. Mike Evans versus Amani Hooker. Tip of the cap to a future Hall of Famer in Mike Evans, right? But you love to see, and I'm not surprised, the Bucs, they throw that touchdown in the red zone. This is what practice is for. Let's come back and try to work the run game, right? We've got a touchdown through the air. Now let's see if we can run the ball in this red zone scenario. And the Titans defense bounces back. You give up a touchdown and you come back and you get the big run stop, which sounds like Jeffrey Simmons sort of exploded into the backfield to make that stop. So, good on good, wins for both sides. That's what joint practice is all about, seeing both teams being productive. Yeah,
exactly. And then maybe some of the best news that we got out of the day, or at least a show of some real growth for this Titans offense, was how they performed, how the ones performed in their own red zone work on back-to-back plays from the 12-yard line. Cam Ward threw touchdown passes, one to Bryce Oliver, one to Shimere Dike, who apparently, caught it on the back line with a toe-tapping grab, according to Nick Suss. So that's great to see Cam Ward and the Titans offense executing in the red zone. Tim Boyle hit Xavier Restrepo for a touchdown in this, when the second or third team, I guess, got up for this red zone period. So it was nice to see all that as the Titans offense gets in the end zone multiple times in a red zone drill. We've talked recently about how crucial it is to score in the red zone, and we're seeing some real growth because this offense had struggled in red zone periods leading up to yesterday's practice where they were better, and then really excelling there today.
Well, it's good to see that they're showing progress in the red zone. When we had Easton on a couple episodes ago, we talked about that. They had been really bad in the red zone, and obviously Brian Callahan wasn't happy with it, making them run gassers and chewing them out, things of that nature. So for them to come here with a joint practice with the Bucs and throw some touchdowns, 3 of them at least, in those red zone drills, 2 of them from the first team offense. I think it was the DK one was also described as like a tight window, like Cam Ward fit that ball in there around a couple of Bucs defenders. So you love to see that. And it kind of takes me back to the comment Brian Callahan made yesterday about the trajectory of this offense. We're on the right path. We're on the right trajectory. The proof's in the pudding when you start to see them getting better in difficult periods like the red zone.
Exactly. And then there was one other play I need to point out, another Jarvis Brownlee Jr. play. Bucs wide receiver Emeka Egbuka lined up as the X receiver. As he crossed the middle with the ball coming his way, he got laid out by Titans cornerback Jarvis Brownlee Jr. And you mentioned earlier that when Darrell Baker
pulled up,
that you knew another Titans DB who wouldn't have pulled up. I think this is what you were referring to. So Jarvis Brownlee Jr. bringing the fire, and then Justin. I think the funniest thing that happened at practice all day was when the fight broke out involving Jeffrey Simmons and Cody Barton on the Titans and Graham Barton on Barton, their crime of the Bucs, and the sidelines clear, became like a huge scrum in the middle of the field, and Cam Ward from 20 yards away, instead of going and getting involved in the fight, just launches the football. And he was asked about this after practice. Paul Kaharski said, "Did you have a target?" And he said, "Yeah, I had a target. I was aiming at somebody in a red jersey."
I thought that was hilarious. I love that he didn't go in there to participate in any of the extracurricular. Just friendly fire, if you will, threw a ball into the middle of the skirmish, if you will, and hit a Bucs player. You love to see that accuracy from Cam Ward hitting exactly who he intended to hit. This must have been hilarious. They said Tristan Wirfs, who had surgery and is hurt, walked into the skirmish with a cane. He's still limping from the surgery he underwent. He's hurt. He was barking at someone apparently on the Titans. Said, "Why are you so mad?" I read a report yesterday about how I read a tweet yesterday that said Brian Callahan said it actually. The NFL does not want fights at joint practices. You got Jarvis Brownlee Jr. almost fighting a fan. I don't know if that's in the league policy, but I imagine it is. Then you got the Bucs and the Titans getting into this, what was described as a bench-clearing brawl. You got Cam Ward throwing the football from 20 yards away and hitting a Bucs player. Might be in concussion protocol now for all we know. This got out of hand, but it sounded like it was all in good fun.
Yeah, and Cody Barton totally dismissed the fight. Oopsies. After practice, and
by
said,
the way, you're not cutting this out. You tried to ding yourself in the beginning when I told you to ding yourself. I don't know if you realized it.
I hit the wrong button.
The Brian Callahan.
Yeah, I hit the Callahan button. Yeah, I was going to cut it out until you said that just now, but I guess I won't anymore.
Leave it in.
Apologies to the audience for the random Callahan yelling. Cody Barton dismissed the skirmish after practice, saying, it's just competitive. Two competitive teams getting heated in a period. Like Cam Ward said that, we dapped up afterwards and shook hands and we're all good. And it's just, fun competition. So I think that's the right way. If you're going to have a training camp fight, which wasn't a fight, then that's the way to do it. So you love to see everything that happened at this practice. Justin, I think that covers did I miss any notes or notable moments from practice, or should we quickly talk about what we're looking for in Saturday's preseason game?
No, I think that pretty much does it. Really excited for Saturday, as you said, right? Like Cam Ward's first NFL game. I know it's a preseason game, but it's still going to be his first live action contest, if you will, in a Titans uniform. I mean, we're not going to pretend like that's not what we're most excited for. Even though Callahan said it's going to be 1 or 2 series, that's what I'm most excited for, is to see Cam Ward for the first time go up against another defense in an actual NFL game. Yes, vanilla offense, vanilla defense, whatever. I don't care. I can't wait to see Cam Ward.
And Todd Bowles did say that most of his starters would not play at all in this game, so you'll probably see Cam Ward go up against a backup defense. It'd be interesting to see how many starters the Titans roll out there, because you'd like to see Cam Ward protected by his first-string O-line, or at least the majority first-string O-line, if he's going to go out there and risk potential injury in a preseason. That's the whole that's the whole give and take of preseason, is you need that experience, but every snap you're out there is a risk.
Brian Callahan sounded like they were going to play, so I do think you're going to see the Titans' first team against the Bucs' second team. I mean, you take that into account, but I don't think they're not throwing Cam Ward out there with Sam Mustipher and Andrew Rupsich. They're not stupid, right? So I fully expect. Maybe it's not Kevin Zeitler at right guard.
That's what I was going to say.
But I think you're going to see it will be Dan Moore at left tackle, Skoronski probably at left guard, Corey Levin at center, J.C. Latham at right tackle. Your right guard, maybe it's Jackson Slater, or maybe that's Andrew Rupsich, or Blake Hance isn't healthy right now, so probably a Rupsich or a Slater. But ultimately, I think this is majority going to be the first team offense for Cam Ward.
Yeah, and I do think, there's a chance Zeitler plays one drive, because he probably wants to get, knock some rust off too, but we'll see how they handle him. A couple notes from practice that I forgot to give. Savondre Sweat did not practice, even though he was out there again yesterday. He wasn't out there for very long yesterday, so it looks like they're just managing him in this return from whatever little minor ab injury he has. Kevin Winston Jr. also did not participate in practice again, because he's dealing with this knee soreness, but Callahan doesn't seem very concerned about it. The Titans have a lot of safeties now, so they don't need to be that concerned about it. I think it's just managing this return from the ACL. Blake Hance, as you mentioned, still out, and Chandler Brewer, who's been missing practice, was placed on injured reserve. Titans actually signed a new player, defensive end Joe Gaziano, and when I sent you this news blurb, you replied to me with the Snoop Dogg gif where he's like, "Who?"
I did it half jokingly, and I've actually heard of. I think I remember when he was coming out in the draft. I probably interviewed him. Who knows? But veteran journeyman, back end roster guy. That gets them back to 90. Some of the other guys we're excited to see on Saturday. If you're okay, I continue moving forward with that. I'm going to group the rookie receivers, and I'm going to include Gunnar Helm in that as one. We obviously want to see Alec Iomanor, Shimere DK, Gunnar Helm, and Xavier Restrepo. That's obvious. All the rookies, Jackson Slater, who again, we'll see where he works into the lineup, first, second, third team. Of course, Femi Oladejo, who's so big. Apparently, he had a bad rep during one-on-ones earlier today. You make note of that, where he was totally stonewalled by a Bucs lineman. So the rookie classic goes without saying. Some of the other guys stick out to me. James Williams, who appears to be pretty close to securing that starting spot next to Cody Barton at inside linebacker. That's one that I want to see. I talked about the whole rookie class. That includes Marcus Harris, of course, Kalel Mullings. I don't know if there's anyone else that sticks out to you, but some of the UDFAs too, those backup D linemen, Desmond Evans, the edge rusher, who's trying to get that fifth edge rushing spot. Jihad Ward, if he does play, I'm curious to see what he looks like, because I do think he's the number 4 now, replacing Lorenzo Carter. But I don't have a crazy lengthy list here, right? It's the rookies, It's the sophomores, and there's no UDFA darling, in all honesty, outside of like Xavier Restrepo. But that's the beauty of it. Maybe someone will surprise us. Maybe on Monday we're like, wow, Desmond Evans had a great game, or Philip Rakes had a great game, or Bleedy had a great game. The other D lineman out of Auburn they got, who's a UDFA. Clarence Lewis, Jalen Kimber. They got a bunch of UDFA DBs, Davion Ross. So, going to be a lot of opportunities for these guys to play snaps in this game.
Isaiah Rakes, Philip Bleedy.
I thought of it after I said it. I wasn't going to correct it, but I'm glad you did.
Yeah, I'm with you, though. It's like the rookies. Like the second-year guys that I want to see aren't going to play a lot, because it's the guys that, T'Vondre Sweat, whether or not he's dealing with this ab thing, he wouldn't play a lot. Jarvis Brownlee, he's not going to play a lot. Like, so all the second-year guys, like, yeah, I'd be excited to see what kind of steps they've taken in their maturation, but we're not going to see them play very much, because the guys that we want to grow are starters now, and they're going to maybe play a series or two, maybe. Like, I think we see more offensive starters than defensive starters. The defense has more veterans. The offense is trying to work a rookie quarterback in and get him ready for the season. So probably see a lot of defensive starters resting, which means we might get to see a lot of Femi Oladejo. I think we probably will. I'd like to see him make an impact, at least, have a couple of nice pass rushes or a couple of impact plays. I'll be excited to see James Williams. I think he'll probably get some run there at the linebacker spot. And then, as I mentioned, throughout this episode, the special teams. Like, how does the special teams look? Who's lining up for returner at both returner spots? Brian Callahan did say that they're going to cycle through returners over the course of all 3 preseason games. Like, you may not see, you may not see every returner get a shot in this game. So just because somebody doesn't go out there for a punt return that's been working there in practice doesn't mean they're out of the running. Like, we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. The most important thing is everyone come out of this game healthy. I don't even know if I need to say that, but that's obvious. Let's see them come out of this game healthy. And it doesn't matter who wins or loses, Justin, but I will say, like, last year the Titans went 3-0 in the preseason, and it didn't matter at all for the, how good the team was. But something I will say about this year's preseason, obviously we are all super excited to see Cam Ward play, but he's not going to play very much, especially in this first game. Preseason's going to be way more boring than it has been in the last few years, because last year we had Will Levis, who we were all excited about this time of year, and Malik Willis, and that was pretty much it at the quarterback position. So we get to see Malik Willis, who, like, not that Malik Willis was great. He was a lot better last year than he was earlier in his career, and he played decent football for the Packers when he had to start. But man, the athleticism that he, this the things that he brings to the game with his legs, the ability to make plays, in space on the run, like, made it an exciting preseason. And this year we're going to be subjected to Brandon Allen and Tim Boyle in the second half of games. So I'm not looking forward to it as much.
I also think as excited everyone is, it always ends up like we're going to get a ton of Clarence Lewis, Jalen Kimber, Mike Brown, Joe Gaziano, Curtis Jacobs, Amani Burney. I had another name in my head, Davion Ross. I had one more I wanted to say. I can't remember now. But that's what it's going to be probably on the defensive side of the ball for the majority of it. But I don't care if it's a series or two. I can't wait to see Cam Ward.
I agree. I can't wait to see Cam Ward first and foremost, who had a good day today in a very competitive practice with the Buccaneers. So thanks to everyone for tuning in. Justin, you will be back on Saturday evening with Ryan Watson, formerly of the Coach's Corner podcast, sitting in for my spot here, doing a live recap of this preseason game. I wasn't sure what time to schedule this stream. I'm trying to set up the stream so everything's easy for Ryan, right? I wasn't sure what time to set it for, so I put it at 9:05 p.m. Central Time. That would mean the game game takes like about 2.5 hours. Maybe it's a 3-hour game, but it's preseason, so it should be quicker than that, right? So whenever the game is over, give Justin and Ryan like 5 to 10 minutes, and then there will be a notification sent out on Twitter. It's going to be live on YouTube. It's also going to be live on the MCA Twitter account. However, if you want to leave like a live chat, comment, ask a question, or get involved in the chat, you'll have to go to YouTube to watch it there. So, but if you're following the MCA Twitter account, you'll at least get an alert when the podcast is live. If you subscribe to the channel and hit the little notification bell, you'll get an alert on YouTube when the podcast is live on Saturday. So, live recap Saturday. Really excited for you and Ryan to handle that. How you feel about it? You ready?
Probably going to be a bit of a shit show without you, the trusty producer here. And first one live. What a great idea on our part, eh? Let's switch up the host and go live for the first time ever. But you know what? We're going to have fun. We're going to talk ball. We're going to have a lot of analysis for you. A little bit of a watered down production of it, probably. You're not going to get all the jump cuts that Graver puts in and the clips and all that. But we're going to have a lot of fun recapping it. You guys are going to want to be here because excitement's going to be at an all-time high. And the live chat function will be exciting. You guys can ask me a question, ask Watson a question. Again, if you're not familiar with Watson, like he coached offensive line at the college level. He's no freaking joke. So he knows football through and through at a very high level. Wasn't he on the Flex podcast too? Weren't you on the Flex? You never say that one, but he hosted the Flex with you as well. So if you were a Broadway sports fan, you remember Ryan Watson. Yeah,
Ryan does great job, and I'm excited that we have somebody who is like capable of doing all the technical stuff, because that was my biggest fear, was like, you know, someone that knows what they're doing in StreamYard, which is the program we're using. So there you go. That'll happen on Saturday, and that'll do it for this pod. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Again, thanks again to Sinkers Beverages, and leave a comment below. What'd you see in this practice? We'll hop in there and respond to you. Until next time, get your copy of Titans of the South and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.